It is time to have courage. So courage is something that we all need, we all have, and we all do every day without even realizing that we're doing it. But here's the definition for courage. You may know it, but I just want to remind you of it. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is standing up to that thing that you're facing. That's my definition of courage. It's standing, whether it's an illness, whether it's having courageous conversation, whether it's asking for that raise, whether it's talking to your spouse, asking those in the community that you do life with, asking them to stop something, start something, or to include you, or to raise your hand when you're in a meeting and to make a point. It is so critical that we have courage, right? So courage is something that's humans we need. Right? It's so important that we practice courage each and every day. If you sit in a chair, you're practicing courage. If you drive your car, you're practicing courage. If you drive your car across a bridge, you're practicing courage. We've got to identify how important it is to display courage. And some of you may be challenged by the day-to-day things that you're facing, and you may think you're not courageous. I remember I was telling my manager many years ago that I wasn't courageous, and this was when I drove from New Jersey to Florida on the heels of Hurricane Sandy to start the high network desk, because my director asked me to, and I agreed, and I drove to Florida. I left New Jersey. And my director was like, my manager rather, was saying, Shelia, it's courageous for you to not only say yes, but to take that drive, that leap of faith. What is it in your life that you need to take a leap of faith in? You need to take courage. Courage is something that I help my clients to build and to look at and to realize the areas where they have taken action, the areas where they have acted upon something and they've displayed courage. It is so important that we recognize that you are a courageous person already. Again, as a coach, I help my clients with doing a brain dump and assessing areas where they have taken courageous steps in the past, things that they have overcome, hard conversation that they've had. Working with a client right now, and she's having some challenges with her boss, and she has to have this conversation. And whenever you have to have a courageous conversation, you start feeling all kind of stuff, butterflies in your stomach, you're breaking out in sweat, you're overwhelmed, you're nervous, you can't sleep, just a lot of things. But here is the thing. Courage is not the courage is not the absence of fear, because if fear is not present, courage cannot show up. I want you to let that sink in. If fear is not present, courage cannot show up. Can somebody type that into the chat? Can somebody type that in the comments and ruminate on that today? Because there may be something in your life that you need to face, a courageous action you need to take, a courageous question you need to ask. You're going to a networking meeting and you have to say to people who you are, what you do, and you struggle with that, and you need to build that muscle. Courage is a muscle. For those of you who work out and you want to be buff and you want to, tone those different areas in your body, you've got to lift heavier weights, and it takes courage. Courage is a muscle, and you lift the lighter weight and then you build upon it. Your coach, your trainer will help you to build upon it. It's the same thing in the world that I'm in and that I help you with, to have those fulfillment, to accomplish your goals, to overcome the hump, to live a fulfilled life, to have more joy, more peace, more fulfillment. You have to take those courageous steps. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's you doing that thing in the face of fear. It's you doing that thing despite the fear. I love Dr. Brené Brown. I read her books. I listened to her TED Talks. I listened to anything she put out. And she has some quotes that I love, and I have two of them here, and I want to read it to you. The first one is, you can choose courage or you can choose comfort, but you can't have both. I need that to sit with you for a little while. You cannot have both. You've got to get out of your comfort zone. You've got to submit that application if you want that job. You got to go on that interview if you want that job. You've got to ask for what you need in that relationship if you're not satisfied, if you're disappointed, if that person doesn't know, is not treating you in your love language. They're doing everything else except what you need to feel loved and appreciated. What exactly do you need that you need courage to ask for? That's where I come in as your coach, as your sister, as your tour guide to help you on the journey. The second quote that I like that Dr. Brene Brown shared is courage starts with showing up and letting yourself be seen. We sometimes want to sit in the corner and hide out and not raise our hand and not let the light shine on us. But let me tell you something, sir and ma'am, it will never happen until you get out of that place, that comfort zone, and push past your fear. It may mean that you got to raise your hand and say, I will take on that stretch assignment. It may mean you raising your hand and say, you know what? I will try to do that, spouse. I will try to do that. I will work on that. I may need your help, but I will work on it. And do it scared, do it messy. Show up. It's so important that we show up. I've had the privilege to sit in seminars and in events with Nick Vujicic. I don't know if you know him. Nick Vujicic is a gentleman from Australia. He was born with no arms, no legs. Matter of fact, I have one of his devotional right here. And he had to tap into courage at an early age. At the age of 10, he started to face bullies and different things in school that was defeating him. And his parents really helped him along the way to find courage. If you don't have someone significant in your life that is able to help you to push past those areas where you're afraid and that you need to build upon courage, that's where I come in as your coach. Nick Vujicic, he is an author and a New York Times best-selling author. He's a speaker, a motivational teacher. He's also an evangelist. He has spoken in many countries in spite of his fear of not having enough, not being enough. He has no arms and no legs. One of the things that he struggled with most was really wondering if he could have a family, he could get a wife, if anybody would love him. Is he enough? And he was able to get a wife, not only get a wife, but he has 4 children and all of them are healthy. They have arms and they have legs. And it's so beautiful that he was willing to push past his fear, push past those things that were coming up, the negative chatter. You will have those negative chatter and you've got to override those negative chatter. And that's where courage comes in. Remember, courage will not show up unless you call it forward in the middle of your fearful situations. If you have to have a courageous conversation with someone, there's a way to do it. And I'm helping my client right now to devise the way and couple 3 things that you want to remember when you're having courageous conversation are not to use fighting words. There are 3 fighting words that you don't want to use. The first one is you. The next one is always. And the other one is never. You always say this. You never do that. You. When people hear those words, they get defensive and they get in fighting mode. They want to fight. They want to defend. They shut down. They no longer are listening to you. So if you have to have a courageous conversation and you're struggling with that, if you want to take that step in going to network and going to asking for more money from your boss, you want an increase in your salary. What is it that you want that you've got to take those courageous steps? Type it in the comments, share with me. Or reach out to me and let's see if we're a good fit to work together and understand that courage is a necessary tool that you have to have in your toolbox. I remember when I had to drive from New Jersey to Florida on the heels of Hurricane Sandy. It took a lot of courage. A courage I didn't think I had. And my manager had to point it out to me. Sheila, it takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing. And it's so important that we know we have everything we need on the inside of us. Our designer, our creator gave us what we have. But because we have gone through some things in life, because we're life and life is life, and y'all, we can get overwhelmed and we can get stressed out and not realize that we have everything we need. I'm going to pause right here to wait on you to let me know what are those courageous things that you're doing and what are those courageous things that you need to do that you need help with. I am your coach. I am your sister. I am your tour guide to a resilient you.